All right, today we're going on a hunt for a kind of master key, one that unlocks a massive class of algebraic puzzles. And you know what's wild? The whole journey, the whole key, it all starts with something as simple as multiplication. So let's dive right in. So let's just start with this question right here. What is the real connection between these two things? I mean, they look totally different, right? But here's the secret. They're actually the exact same thing, just in a different costume. And understanding how they're the same, well, that's the key to everything we're about to unlock today. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to get our hands dirty building and breaking down expressions. Then we'll get into the art of factoring. Once we have those tools in our belt, we'll take on the big puzzle itself, the quadratic equation. We'll explore 3 different ways to crack it before we finally unveil the master key, the one and only quadratic formula. Okay, first things first. Before we can solve anything, we gotta understand the materials we're working with. In the world of algebra, that means polynomials. We need to get really comfortable with how they're put together and, just as important, how they're taken apart.
You can really think of this as 2 sides of the very same coin. On one side, you have expansion. That's the building process. You're multiplying simple little pieces together to create something bigger, more complex. And on the other side, factoring. That's the exact opposite. It's the art of breaking that big expression back down into its original building blocks. They're just inverse operations of each other, and seeing that relationship is the first huge aha moment. So these right here, these are basically the blueprints for building our expressions. You've probably bumped into these before. We've got our perfect squares, the difference of squares, and that general formula for multiplying any 2 binomials. The trick is to stop seeing them as formulas to memorize and start seeing them as patterns. Because once you can recognize these patterns, you can start working backward, and that's where the real power is.
Okay, so we've got the blueprints for building. Now it's time to become experts in deconstruction. This is all about factoring, and believe me, it is the most critical skill we're going to need for the puzzles that are coming up. And this is the big idea, the aha moment. Factoring is not some brand new, scary set of rules you have to learn from scratch. Not at all. It's literally just undoing the multiplication we just looked at. You get to be a detective. You're given the final result, and it's your job to figure out, which original pieces were multiplied together to get this? So how do we actually do it? How do you systematically factor something like this? Well, the key is this cross-multiplication method. You start by listing out the possible factors for the first term and the last term. Then, you test the combinations. The magic happens in step 3. You cross-multiply the pairs and add them up. If that result matches your middle term, bam, you found your original pieces. In this case, it's 3x plus 4 and x minus 2. All right, our toolbox is officially ready. We get expansion, we've practiced factoring. Now, it is time. It's time to face the puzzle we've been getting ready for this whole time, the quadratic equation. So what even is a quadratic equation? Well, it's any equation that can be written in this specific format. The absolute key ingredient, the thing that makes it quadratic, is that x squared term. And that little note that a can't be 0, that's super important, because if a was 0, the x squared term would just, poof, it'd vanish, and our entire puzzle would just disappear. Now, when someone says solve the equation, what are we actually trying to do? Well, we're on a hunt. We're looking for something called the roots, or the solutions. These are the specific values of x that, when you plug them back into the equation, make the whole thing true. They make it all equal 0. They are the numbers that solve the puzzle. You know, the cool thing about a good puzzle is that there's usually more than one way to solve it. And a great problem solver doesn't just know one method, they know a few. And more importantly, they know which one to use and when. So let's look at 3 totally different ways to find those roots. And here it is, our new skill in action. Method number 1 is solving by factoring. We take our equation, and we use what we just learned to factor the left side into its 2 pieces, x minus 1 and x minus 3. Now, the logic is really simple. If you're multiplying 2 things together and the answer is 0, then one of those things has to be 0, right? So either x minus 1 is 0 or x minus 3 is 0. That gives us our 2 possible solutions, x equals 1 or x equals 3. It's just a beautifully direct way to solve the puzzle. Okay, method 2 is a fantastic shortcut. This is the one you want to use when an equation looks a specific way. Maybe it's missing that middle x term, or maybe it's already set up as a perfect square. The idea is super simple. You just get the squared part all by itself and then take the square root of both sides. When the puzzle is already set up for you like this, it is by far the fastest way to get to the answer.
But what if the equation is messy? What if it's not easy to factor? That is where this incredibly powerful technique comes in, completing the square. The whole goal here is to manipulate the equation to basically force it to become that perfect square format we just saw. The secret sauce is step 3, adding that one magical number to both sides of the equation. As soon as you do that, the left side just beautifully factors into a perfect square, and from there, you just use the square root method to finish it off. This is a technique that can crack any quadratic.
So we've seen 3 awesome methods. Factoring is quick when it works, square roots are a great shortcut for specific cases, and completing the square is a powerhouse that can handle anything. But what if I told you there was one tool, just one single formula that could solve any quadratic equation you throw at it? Every single time, no fail. Well, that tool exists, and it's not just another formula on a list. It's the master key, the one that unlocks every single one of these puzzles. And here it is, the quadratic formula. I know, it might look a little intimidating at first, but where it comes from is pure genius. Just imagine taking the general form of our equation, that ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, and painstakingly applying the completing the square method to it. This formula, this is the answer you get at the end. It's like a pre-solved puzzle that works for every single quadratic in the universe. And using it is actually a really simple process. You take any quadratic equation, and first, you just identify your a, b, and c values. Then, you literally just plug those numbers into the formula and carefully simplify the arithmetic. There's no more guesswork, no more hunting for factors. You just follow the blueprint, do the math, and it hands you the solution every single time. So there you have it. We've gone all the way from simple multiplication to a universal master key. And this isn't just stuff for a math class. These equations are out there in the real world, modeling everything from the arc of a basketball shot to figuring out profits in a business. You've just added an incredibly powerful tool to your problem-solving kit. So now the only question left is, what puzzles are you going to solve with it?